Meanwhile, Wendy's holed up in her room, buried in a book. She's totally baffled by how these books about the church's origins skip any mention of gods and just slap the title Pope on everyone. It's all a bit too much for her to wrap her head around. Just as she's mulling it over, Nightingale breezes in, catching Wendy mid-brainstorm. Wendy snaps the book shut, instantly lighting up to see her friend there. Wendy mentions how Lightning had gone to sleep while calling for Daddy, like a child. Nightingale chuckles and takes the book from Wendy's hand, reminding her that reading late at night could strain her eyes, especially in poor light. Suddenly, Wendy catches Nightingale off guard, asking if she's troubled by thoughts of the kiss Lightning gave our hero. Nightingale blushes and denies it, but Wendy presses her, telling her not to lie. Reluctantly, Nightingale clenches her teeth and admits the kiss is bothering her. Meanwhile, Wendy reassures Nightingale that Roland Wimbledon is the fourth prince of the kingdom, and their mission is to help him seize the throne and become the king of Grey Castle. She's confident he'll protect the witches under his rule and, when the time comes, marry a princess or a duke's daughter to secure the next generation. Wendy explains that as witches, they can't have children. It's a limitation granted by the heavens in exchange for their powers, and she hopes Nightingale understands this. Outside, as the party winds down, the townsfolk are busy with cleaning duties. They're already nostalgic for the months of demons, thanks to our hero who made their days unforgettable with his inventions and victories. They're also curious about what the artillery division will do now that the demons are gone. Vanner assures them they'll find out tomorrow. The next morning begins with the sound of horns, gathering all the soldiers for an announcement from our hero. Iron Axe informs them that since they've successfully protected Bordertown from the demons, every member of the civilian army is now a private soldier under Prince Roland. However, he gives them the option to leave if they wish not to continue. A knight asks if being in the private army means they'll become knights. Hunter Iron Axe clarifies that a private army is a professional military force dedicated to protecting Prince Roland and his territory. They'll undergo year-round training focused on battle readiness, stricter discipline, and will receive higher salaries. The soldiers aren't totally sold on the better pay part, so Iron Axe lays it out. There's going to be a military ladder in this private army. With those who achieve outstanding results in battle will be promoted. Military officers will receive higher salaries and even land of their own. That news fires up the troops, who are now all about this new challenge and the rewards that come with it. But Iron Axe sternly reminds the excited crew that being members of the private army means their conduct must be far more disciplined than before. He emphasizes that any deviation from the code of conduct will result in severe consequences, such as forced labor or even execution. The squad members visibly tense up at the stern warning, and Iron Axe challenges them to reconsider their commitment if they have doubts. Despite the harsh conditions, Vanner remains steadfast in his determination to keep serving our hero, Roland, no matter what challenges arise. Seeing no one willing to leave the private army, Iron Axe raises his voice again with the authority of a seasoned captain, reminding them that they are now Prince Roland's private army. He declares that their training and conditioning will begin immediately, establishing a tone of strict discipline from this point forward. Back in the castle, Lightning reports to Prince Roland about the plans for the private army. She explained that due to the lingering snow outside the city, the soldiers will be crawling more than running during their 4-mile daily routine. While Lightning admires the new blueprints our hero has recently drawn up, the prince himself is deep in thought, contemplating the daunting task ahead of him, creating the army's structure from scratch, including regulations, rewards, and penalties. The sheer magnitude of the task gives him a major headache, considering he played military chess in his youth, but has since forgotten much of it. He's determined to innovate and do something unprecedented in this world and time. As they examine the blueprints, the word bayonet catches their attention. Before they can delve further into their discussion, a knock on the door interrupts them. With both witches vanishing into thin air, our hero grants permission for the visitor to enter. The old custodian surprises us once again by reporting that there's an aristocrat named Chris who wishes to meet our hero. Chris had left during the months of demons and has now returned, visibly upset because his house was demolished due to the construction of the walls. When our hero confronts Chris, the noble sternly demands answers about why the prince allowed his house to be taken down. He emphasizes how he spent a substantial amount, 150 golden coins, to build that magnificent mansion. Our hero bluntly asks if Chris is referring to the westernmost house in Bordertown, to which Chris confirms. The prince apologizes, explaining that it was necessary because the house was too close to the wall and obstructed troop movements. However, he reassures Chris that the city will reimburse him for his loss. The greedy noble immediately perks up and asks how much he'll be getting. Our hero points out 20 golden royals, but this greedy guy isn't satisfied with such a small amount. Eventually, he agrees and asks where he can collect his money. The prince then reminds him that the sum has already been transferred to the property's rightful owner. The noble gets agitated and slams his hand on the desk, insisting he is the rightful owner of the property. Our hero cunningly points out that if the property truly belonged to him, why hadn't he been there even once during the months of demons? The noble explains that he had stayed at Longsong Fortress because he didn't want to die in Border Town. That is when the prince sees his opening, and questions whether this fat cat is implying he deserted his ruler out of fear of the demons. As the chief knight strides over, he claps the noble on the shoulder with a fierce look, letting him know that admitting his mistake about the house ownership can make this whole thing just a misunderstanding. He warns the noble that he can leave quietly to avoid any trouble, but if he does not leave, he will be charged for the act of treason and will be executed right away. The noble starts sweating bullets, finally owning up to his blunder and admitting the house isn't his. Our hero plays it cool, casually telling him it's all good and he can head out without any fuss. Before the noble scurries off back to Longsong, our hero tosses a message with him to carry. If any other nobles want to dodge treason charges, they better think twice about returning to town. It sounds like the noble is seething with frustration as he vents his anger by punching a nearby tree. He's convinced that once the Longsong Duke takes control of the territory, the prince will have to return, and this fat cat will wait for the moment to gloat over our hero's supposed downfall. As he storms down the road, his fury subsides when he spots a woman covered from head to toe, and the noble is taken aback by her beauty. He's never seen such elegance, not even among some princesses. Watching her stride purposefully toward the castle, he begins to wonder if she might be our hero's wife. Once inside the city, she covers her face again amidst the bustling town, finding herself confused to see the bustling streets, even though the months of demons just ended recently. When she reaches the castle gates, she wonders if Nightingale was truthful about the prince of this town. She hesitates before entering, but then she makes up her mind, thinking she could handle at least 2 guards if it came down to it. The knights at the castle door react sharply at this robe figure, ordering them to back off, as this is not a place for commoners. Lady Leaf remains undeterred, removes her hoodie, revealing her beauty, and boldly identifies herself as a witch. The soldiers exchange bewildered glances, unsure of how to respond. Meanwhile, Lady Leaf nervously swallows her fear and, with determination, requests to meet Nightingale, Nana, or Anna. The both guards take glances at each other, and one of them decides to step inside to report the situation. While seeing those soldiers go, Lady Leaf remains fearful that the soldier might be fetching reinforcements, or perhaps Nightingale had deceived them about the existence of Nana and Anna. With her head down in thought, she suddenly feels warm hugs from both Nightingale and Wendy. Once she realizes that they are her friends, the Lady Leaf is stunned to see both Nightingale and Wendy embracing her, their eyes moist with tears of joy. Wendy whispers a heartfelt "welcome home" into Lady Leaf's ear, which causes her to burst into tears herself. Meanwhile, our hero is seen yawning, and Wendy brings him some tea. During their tea time, our hero inquires about Nightingale, prompting Wendy to happily reveal that Nightingale is welcoming a new sister who has recently arrived. Our hero nearly chokes in surprise at this news, while Wendy enthusiastically mentions that the sisters from the association have come to Border Town. Shocked and excited, our hero asks Wendy if they were not looking for the Holy Mountain, to which the woman explains that only 7 witches remain, as the rest were obliterated by the monsters during their adventure. She then apologizes, mentioning they arrived while our hero was asleep and asks for forgiveness for letting the witches enter the castle. Our hero, on the other hand, is thrilled to have more witches join them, no matter their skills or how many there might be. Wendy, though, drops a hint from Lady Leaf that these gals aren't exactly warriors, which means they might not be much help in a fight. You see, under the Stone of Divine Judgment's influence, these witches are kind of limited in their combat skills. But hey, the prince is cool with that. Having a witch who can zap things with electricity means no more dark nights, and one who can sculpt stuff means skipping all that refining and molding hassle. It's got our hero daydreaming about how much he can jazz up this ancient world with technological advancement using the power of witches. Nightingale abruptly snaps our hero out of his daydreaming, dragging him back to reality, reminding him that everyone is waiting for him. Shortly after, everyone gathers for dinner, with all the witches present. Our hero is pleased to welcome them to Border Town and hopes they enjoy the food, encouraging them to ask for anything they want. Lighting enthusiastically chimes in, agreeing that our prince is quite the generous guy and mentioning how he's always open to new members as well. One of the witches scolds Lighting for being so casual with our hero, but our hero dismisses her concerns, saying they don't bother with titles or formalities, and urging everyone to start eating before the food gets cold. Meanwhile, the other witches watch Nana and Anna using what look like two little sticks to eat. These newcomers have no idea how to handle these utensils, so they can't help but stare in confusion. Regardless, everyone digs into their meal, thoroughly enjoying it, and once dinner ends, our hero finds himself poring over documents detailing each witch's abilities. After reviewing everyone's skills, the prince realizes that there isn't a witch capable of shaping materials or generating electricity. This realization means our hero's plans for progress towards modernization will need to slow down a bit. However, he acknowledges that there's enough talent among the witches to meet their current needs. The first witch our hero takes a liking to is Lady Leaf. Not only can she increase fruit yields, but she can also control all plants freely, making her an ideal candidate for agricultural expansion. Next is Scroll, a witch with inhuman memory that operates 24 hours daily. After her maturity, she is now able to recreate any book she's read, making her perfect for teaching. Then there's Hummingbird, a cute witch who can make things weightless or adjust their weight with her magic. This makes her invaluable for lifting cargo or adjusting payloads. Fourth is Soraya Zoan, from a merchant family in Grey Castle's capital. She can recreate lifelike landscapes using her magic brush without needing paint, ink, or paper, which makes her essentially a walking camera. Echo, the fifth witch, hails from the southern continent and can replicate any sound, making her a master of sound illusions. Finally, Lily, who just turned 16, has the ability to prevent food from rotting, potentially helping with food preservation. But our hero has yet to figure out if her powers can also kill bacteria. However, after Lady Leaf, the seventh witch, known as Moon, is the most intriguing witch. A young girl who doesn't talk much but is a priceless asset because she can magnetize metal. Her ability was upgraded after maturity, and now she can magnetize almost anything. Nightingale reveals that Moon was regarded as the most useless in their camp and often bullied by their teacher, Kara. But for our hero, magnetism means he has a way to generate electricity, which is the oldest trick in the engineering books, and all credit goes to Faraday. With electricity, they can have light, and it won't be long before another miracle happens in his territory. He decides not to categorize the witches into battle and non-battle categories, but instead prefers to place them into three large categories. The first category is self-reinforcing, consisting of passive abilities that are not affected by the Stone of Divine Judgment. The second category is summoning, and as the name suggests, the magic is summoned outside the body, but with an area of effect of 5 meters or less, and these abilities can easily be suppressed by the Stone of Divine Judgment. The third category, power attaching, is all about directly attaching magic to their target. The process is slow, consuming a hefty amount of magic, and can be interrupted by the Divine Stone of Judgment. However, once the conversion is done, the added properties become intrinsic to the object. They remain effective even in the presence of a Divine Judgment Stone. Once he sorts everything out, he calls it a day, knowing that things are about to get a lot more hectic from here on out. While Roland is about to hit the sack,